Hey everyone, it's my pleasure to announce that Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, you better make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. And thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this your smoothest season yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while you're looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use the code THPN. Summertime and the trimming is easy. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt, and that's why we trust Manscaped for all of our sensitive areas. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Don't wait, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 225 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
What's going on, boys? What are they selling? They're selling chocolate. Back-to-back bars for the Bears. What an unbelievable Calder Cup finals. I know that's what we're here to talk about today. I mean, the fact that they did it to the same team in overtime both times is just hilarious. But I know we've got a lot to get into. I'm fired up about the Bears win, fired up about the Stanley Cup. Looking forward to this one, boys.
Yeah, if you thought this was a Stanley Cup episode, you're sorely mistaken. No, I'm just messing. Nick is very proudly donning his Hershey Bears sweater, which looks very clean, might I add.
Thank you.
But this is a special episode, episode 225. The Florida Panthers are officially the Stanley Cup champions. We'll talk more about the game itself and all the storylines to follow in a few seconds, but I'm going to toss it off to my other co-host up in Milwaukee, Mr. Mac Vogel.
What's up, y'all? Yeah, you heard it. You heard it here. Well, you heard it on TV last night, but Cats are Stanley Cup champions. Never doubt, baby. Never doubt. I proudly am the only member of this podcast to guess that correctly. So sick ups for me, I guess. One little tidbit I was going to share with you guys. I was wearing this, for all those who don't know, I'm wearing a Panthers jersey right now. And I'm kind of a bandwagon fan. I'm obviously a Capitals fan, but, you know, I just kind of joined the Cats bandwagon this postseason. Got this for like $20 at a yard sale, basically. And I'm wearing this walking down the street after, I think it was the day before Game 7. And some dude, like I've been wearing this to bars and, you know, people make comments and stuff. Like I'm just used to it at this point. But some dude, I'm walking down the street, minding my own business, walking to the grocery store. This dude pulls his car over, unrolls the window just to yell, "Go Oilers!" And I just like looked at him and I was like, I kind of just like looked at him like, okay, buddy. And then like I just kept walking and he like kept moving me. And then like I think he thought that I like didn't get it or something. Because he was like, that's a Panthers jersey, isn't it? You know, like I said, go Oilers, because like that's who they're playing in the Stanley Cup final. And I was like, no,
Buddy,
I know.
You don't need to explain this to me, man.
I was like,
know.
I know that's just absolutely crazy of you to like pull over and say that to like a hockey fan. Like, what if I was a complete psychopath and I wanted to like come like key your car or like get your plate and like follow you or some shit? Like that's that's pretty unhinged behavior. But I just was like, yeah, no, I got it. And he's like, well, who's gonna win? And I was like, who do you think I'm gonna say? I literally said that to him, and he was like, yeah, I guess, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Was
Well,
like this guy like the biggest moron of all time, or
he
was just
seemed like he
like
was just like some like mid-50s like white dad, like
okay,
just
Think
totally
he's funny.
clueless. Yeah, thought it'd be funny, and
yeah,
then was like, "Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it's been a really good series. I'm looking forward to it." And I was like,
it's
Quickly
like
backfired.
like
"Cool,
invite
man."
you over to his house or
Yeah,
something. He's
literally,
like, oh yeah, my
I was
wife's
like,
got a roast in the
"Are you
oven. Yeah,
glad you did this? Are you regretting it yet?" I've been regretting it from the moment you started talking.
dude,
Um,
that's just so weird. I mean, maybe it's just me living between Baltimore and DC, but like if a car pulls up,
yes,
stops, and
yes.
drops the window, that's usually nothing good.
No, exactly. And like I had the same thought being like an East Coast native. I was like, that is on I was with Julia when we were walking, and I afterwards I was like, is that like not the craziest thing like that anyone's ever done? And she was like, I mean, yeah, it was a little weird. And I was like, no, it's like that's bizarre. Like I can
Yeah.
never I would never do that in a million years.
No,
Like
next thing you know, he's
I would
opening the
ne-
back of his van like Silence of the Lambs, and it's like, can you help me put this in the back? And
I
then
was literally trying to think of a scenario where I would pull my car over and like just yell something at a random person on the street because of like something he was wearing. I
Yeah.
had to share that little anecdote before we dove deep here. But
like if
anyway.
we were driving around and saw one of each other, that's
Yeah,
totally
like if you
acceptable
know the guy,
behavior.
you're gonna give
But
him shit. But like you don't
yeah,
know me. I could be insane.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
you
The
yeah.
Midwest nice. It's real. They just
hmm
assume the best out of everyone. They're like, oh, he'll get a good jolly laugh out of this one. I'm gonna tell him go Oilers. Jesus Christ. Be careful, buddy.
I wish people could see Nick's face right now because it's priceless. Also, real
Oh,
quick,
that was
Mac,
too good.
the moon predicted Panthers in 7, not
He
you.
did. He did.
You copied the moon.
Well, he told me. He
There you
told me
go.
to
Oh,
spread the
you're
good
right.
news.
It was a
Yes.
group effort.
It was a group
Yeah.
effort. If you
Yeah.
don't
He
follow us on
wanted me to
Twitter,
know.
if
Yeah.
you don't follow us on Twitter, then you don't know what we're talking about. But then that means that you should go over and follow us. All right. We obviously have a ton to talk about, put a little bow on this season. But before we do, we have a word from our friends over at DraftKings.
Hey everybody, it's Harry here. Got a word from our sponsor over at DraftKings. We are this close to crowning the Stanley Cup champion, and with the action heating up on the ice, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New to DraftKings, listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5 and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get a no sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 8778 HOPE NY or text HOPE NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One no sweat bet per new customer issued as one bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/ice for eligibility, wagering and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
Game 7 officially over. The Florida Panthers take the game on home ice 2-1 to secure their first ever Stanley Cup in franchise history. And man, oh man, what a game it was. Before we go recapping, just initial thoughts on, the environment, the broadcast, the anthems. Notice how I say anthems in plural. That was pretty wild. The atmosphere as a whole. Your thoughts?
Let's start with anthems. I think there was definitely, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but there was definitely a little bit of some pandering to the, large contingent of Canadian fans that were in attendance when you bring out Alanis Morissette to do both "Oh Canada" and the Star Spangled
Right.
Banner. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, can you really be mad about that? It's great PR for the NHL, and glad that they got someone like relatively popular to do that big games anthem. I think that was awesome.
Yeah. Love me some Alanis.
Your thought on how many Oilers fans were at that game? I mean, when they were doing the "Oh Canada," I had buddies blowing up my phone. They're like, "We're rooting for Florida now because you can't have a Canadian team come onto U.S. turf and just conquer it like that." Which I'm sure a lot of people had the same philosophy, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and then Florida's got like the 97-year-old World War II vet out there. It's just
Duking it
I
out.
was I was watching the beginning of the game with my roommate Jason, and they bring that guy. They said something like, and please stand for the anthems. And then the next thing they said, they were like, please welcome like 97-year-old World War II veteran. He was dead serious. He went, he's gonna sing the anthem. I
You
was like,
imagine?
no, he's not going to see. I don't think he is. I hope he's not.
Yeah, that would have been a hell of a scene. But
uh,
man, what a game. And if you're an under better like I was yesterday, that was probably the worst nightmare start you could have asked for. That was a very entertaining first period. We saw Carter Verhaeghe open the scoring in the first part of the first period off a nice little tip off an Evan Rodriguez shot from the half wall. So Mac texted us this, and I agreed with him. The second that goal happened, I was like, "Oh, the Panthers are back. They got the lead. It's going to be like a 4-0 game, and they're going to be off to the races."
I'm curious if you guys had this reaction to the first goal, but the first thing that went through my mind was the Alex Killorn tip against Chicago the year Tampa went to the Cup final, because those are two of the best tips I've ever seen. Those might be the two best tips of all time, but I mean, just to swat the thing out of the air when it's going 3 feet wide and to somehow direct it between the goaltender's 5 holes is just insane to me.
Yep. And at the tail end of the power play too, where the whole power play, the announcers were like trashing Verhaeghe about how he sucks now and that he got taken off the power play unit and blah blah blah. And then it was like, oh, and oh yeah, Verhaeghe scores.
Yeah, do we
How
want
about
to talk
that?
about the broadcast?
We'll save that for the end.
I'm
Gotcha.
over it.
And then Matthias Janmark, he ties the game within 3 minutes of that Verhaeghe goal on a sick breakaway shot and an unbelievable pass from elite NHL playmaker Cody Ceci. I was stunned by that goal, and I'm sure the whole world was stunned by that goal because I think a lot of people were thinking Florida was off to the races, and then you know Edmonton tallies right back. So they were all pumped up on the bench. That Selly was incredible. And then we kind of had a deadlock from there on. It was a 2-1 finish, only one more goal throughout the game, and none other than Mr. Sam Reinhart, the second leading goal scorer in the NHL this year behind Hyman. He had a clear-cut wrist shot from the right wing in the second period to get the game-winning goal in Game 7 of the Cup Finals. And I think it's quite funny that he is going to be the biggest unrestricted free agent this offseason. And I just couldn't help but think how many dollars are going to be added to his paycheck as a result of that goal.
Many dollars, also some cents, but many dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that play is kind of weird. I mean, my gut, I feel like, was to be like, oh, haha, Stuart Skinner, you suck. But if you look at it a little closer, total defensive collapse. Like they just let him walk right in. He's looking to pass the puck as he enters the zone, and he didn't have much room. And they both completely overcommitted to the pass. And then he was like, okay, I guess I have to shoot it. And then, I mean, I guess Stewart, he was kind of screened a little bit by everybody. I'll give him a pass on that one. But yeah, nice little short side, pick your spot.
Verhaeghe gets an apple on that one. So Verhaeghe with a 2-point night. I think it's worth noting that probably like a minute before that, if not sooner,
Like
Forsling,
15 seconds.
I'm not, yeah, 15 seconds. Not
Yep.
Forsling, Kulikov made an amazing
right.
stop on a rolling puck in the crease. And I know Sean McDonough, with the one glimpse of energy that he had throughout the night, was like, oh, and then Kulikov swats it away. Panthers go down, Reinhart scores. So, that's just hockey in a nutshell, right? Big save on one end, go down the rush on the other end, and that team ends up scoring. So that's just how it worked on this one.
Do you know how excited Ray Ferraro was that he got to say the classic thing of a chance at one end of the ice leads to a goal at the other?
Yeah.
He loves saying that.
He does.
Loves it.
Yeah.
I love
was-
Ray.
It's like Edzo and saying, one move, not a lot of stick handles there. Forehand, backhand, beats the tendy.
Or Craig Laughlin, friend of the program, saying absolutely no chance for insert capitals goalie here.
I miss
Yeah,
when Craig would do hold it here's. We need to bring hold it here's back.
Hold it here.
I love it. Yeah, the Panthers played great defensively. Forsling in the third period had an incredible stick on puck stop on McDavid late in the third. That third period, the last, I'd say 10 minutes. I mean, the last minute was kind of boring, but from the 10-minute mark to probably the 2-minute mark, Edmonton threw the kitchen sink at him. And Bobrovsky stood on his head. He played great. The defense played great. And the Panthers hold on to a 2-1 lead and end up winning the Stanley Cup for the first time ever. So I want to ask you guys your impressions on the game as a whole. Were you entertained? Did you find it boring? I know I saw some people who don't watch hockey that much kind of tweeting of like, where's this McDavid guy that everyone's talking about? Because they don't understand. But I just want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I mean, maybe I don't know. You guys let me know if you think it's just recency bias or what, but I fully think that was like one of the best cup clinching games of all time.
I thought it was
In terms of like entertainment, in terms of it being a good game the whole way through, in terms of I did not know who was going to win until the buzzer sounded. I don't know. I thought it had everything you want in a game 7 where the cup's getting handed out.
I agree, because like, I mean, let's be real. The last like close game 7 we had for a cup, Harry, was 09, right?
Yeah, that's the Pens 2-1.
Because the one in 2011 was 4-0. The one in 2019 was 4-1, I think.
Yeah.
Blues Bruins. So I totally agree. I mean, Mac, I think you nailed it when you say like no one knew who was going to win. I mean, how many times did we say in our group chat to each other last night, like, I have no idea who's going to win this hockey game. So I love the back and forth. I mean, I think the fact that, both teams scored in the first period set the tone early. At least it probably hooked some casual viewers like, oh, both teams scored within 2 minutes of each other. This looks like it's going to be pretty back and forth. And it was, I think, goalies at both ends made great saves. You've got a lot of physicality going on. I thought it was great.
It was a good game. And like you guys said, we don't get this kind of game with this type of magnitude and attention very often. And it was close, which is better than what you can say for the last two. It's been what, 09 is 15 years ago or something like that. I can't do math right now, but yeah, it was a phenomenal game. And you guys are right. Like before Florida scored, and I know it was early in the game, but it sure felt like Edmonton had something going. And then the second Janmark ties, I'm like, now I have no idea what's going to happen. I was so dumbfounded as to what was going on. I'm just glad the under hit. So for all you under bettors, congrats.
I think one of the best things about that game was no one side had the momentum the whole time. Like you said, Edmonton started off hot, and then Florida gets the first goal, and then Edmonton pulls it back, and then someone had a little bit of a shots advantage, and then it swings the other way. Someone's got a lot of zone time, power play time, then it swings the other way. I love that. I love the concept of, in sports, like, and especially in hockey, momentum's like matter. It's neither created nor destroyed. It just goes back and forth between one team and another team.
So I'm trying to think of an instance where this happened other than Pittsburgh, but when has a team lost in the cup final and then the next year gone back and won it?
Florida.
Well, that's what I'm. Oh, I see. Nice. You were see People, my brain doesn't work like these two. They can do these things to me where I take it seriously and I buy it, and then it gets them a rise. And I'm sure you people get a rise out of it too. There you go.
Tampa did the opposite.
Correct.
Yeah. Like it would obviously have to be not like nothing in the 90s is clicking to me. I
No,
don't
because
think.
anyone that
The
won in the 90s, like
Devils,
Oh,
they didn't go twice in a row, did they?
they lost in 01 and won in 03. They missed 02,
Okay.
which was the
Okay.
Wings.
I believe Gretzky and the Oilers lost to
Yes.
the Islanders, and then the next year is when they won Gretzky's first cup.
Correct.
And that was when the Islanders finally stopped winning cups, right?
Yes.
So it happened to Gretzky. It happened to Crosby. Is McDavid gonna follow suit? I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
I don't know.
Yeah, that it was a great game. We obviously have to talk about the Conn Smythe because this has the internet on fire. And I'm very interested to hear what the fans say. And us three have specifically not talked about this topic to save it for the recording to get a real reaction. McDavid ends up winning the Conn Smythe. Despite being on the losing team, he's the first player to have that happen since 2003 when J.S. Shiger did it, the goaltender for the Mighty Ducks. The big controversy is that McDavid did not register a point in games 6 or 7 of this series. I want to ask you guys, would you have voted for McDavid?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm not like horrendously upset at the decision. I'm also not very surprised at all at the decision. Um, it's one of those things where it's kind of a subjective thing. Like, I mean, this is voted on by just a bunch of like NHL like heads, So it's kind of it of course it's going to be McDavid in this situation. Like he sniffed Gretzky's record a little bit, and he's already the NHL's baby. So like I'm not surprised he got it. But again, I'm also not that bothered by it. Like he did have an incredible postseason. There's no getting around that. Yeah, you could say, he didn't show up in the two games that mattered most. Sure, but also he could have just not showed up at all after they were down 3-0, and he fucking put the team on his back basically and steamrolled them back, helped get the stone rolling to steamroll them back to a game 7. So I think there's something to be said there. I don't know. I'm okay with him winning it. Could it have been Bob or Barkov? Sure. I think any three of those, I wouldn't have been really that upset either way.
I don't think you could really entertain anyone outside of those three for who was going to win it. And I knew as soon as Bettman started talking, when he was like, who's been the best player for the whole playoffs, I was like, okay, it's 97. It's over. This is a lock. When, I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't really see anything wrong with it one way or another. I feel like maybe he could have said something prior to just like dropping the name. Like, it's the first time in 20 years that someone from the losing team is going to win this, just to give the people of Florida a little bit of a heads up. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. Guy had, like you said, Mac, an unbelievable playoffs, close to record-setting playoffs. I mean, in terms of what we've seen in our lifetime, that was probably the best postseason by an individual. So I'm fine with the decision.
I will also say, like, you're not going to find a single player on the Panthers, and you're not going to find a single real fan of the Panthers that gives a shit about this. Like, they won the cup. No one who's like a true hockey fan should be like barking, being like, I'm still pretty upset Barkov didn't get it or something. Like, just, you won the cup. I don't give a fuck.
I think that's a great point. It's like playoff MVP is great. Congratulations. But like, is it an award anyone really wants to win in the hockey world? Sure, might be nice to add to your resume, but I feel bad for the Conn Smythe sometimes because it's such a cool trophy and you're like, get that thing out of the way and give me the big one.
Yeah, it's like you don't want the attention, right? You see guys who they don't even want to look at it. They hand it off to someone. They're like, all right, now let me get to the cup kind of
Right.
thing. Great breakdown, but naturally you guys did the nice guy thing where I asked you if you were going to vote, if you would have voted for McDavid, yes or no, and I still kind of want to hear a direct answer here.
Yes, I would have.
I think if you asked me right after the game ended last night, I would have said yes, I would have. But like after mulling it over a little bit more today, I still think Bob deserved it.
So I will say yes, because I have to give a yes or no, but I am starting to hear the other side a little more than I was last night. It's kind of a weird subject. I listened to 32 Thoughts this morning and Merrick was going off. He's like, this is a playoff award, not a game 6 and 7 award. He was the best player in the playoffs. But then you go to the complete flip side, and Josh Yo, who's a Penguins beat writer, tweeted this last night, and it has 700,000 views and got a lot of people upset. He said, many will disagree, but I have a real problem with the MVP vote. McDavid is one of the best players of all time. He was brilliant, but he had no points in the last 2 games, was particularly quiet in perhaps the biggest NHL game of this century, and his team lost.
So that to me is critiquing the game, not MVP of the playoffs. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
right, but like the playoffs came down to the game.
right. But
Fair.
I mean, like, if we're gonna go with who was dialed the most throughout the playoffs, I mean, Bob had off games, so did Barkov, you know.
Well,
I don't know.
By the argument of the first thing you said too, like it's a playoffs award, not a game 6 and 7 award. That by that argument, Bob should have won it because it's a playoffs award, not a games 4, 5, and 6 award. And he's still like, what, how many games he allowed 2 or less goals this entire postseason?
Yeah.
Multiple shutouts, including game 1 of, I said this, I think at the beginning of the postseason, game 1 is like game 7. It's the same fucking thing. People don't want to hear me on that argument. Game 1 is game 7. And he shut them out in game 1.
I definitely think using that logic, maybe I wouldn't vote for Bob over McDavid just because of the pure dominance. But yeah, it probably would have made a better case for Bob. I mean, for those who don't know, McDavid was 1 vote away from being unanimous. Every single person voted for him besides one.
See, that's what surprised me a little bit, although I shouldn't be that surprised because, again, a lot of these NHL people are just such suck-offs that it's like...
Part of me is wondering if so much of this backlash is just down to, like, if this was a more common occurrence, like if a player from the losing team won the Conn Smythe, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, then I think it wouldn't have gotten as much flack. But for a lot of hockey fans, this is the first time they're ever seeing that. I mean, Jiggy was 20 years ago. So you've got teenagers that, you know, probably, or, you know, 20-something-year-olds that probably don't even remember when that happened. So I'm wondering if that factors into it. But I was a little bit surprised just by the sheer amount of backlash that was thrown his way because of that.
Okay, so he won it, whatever. Maybe he should have, maybe he shouldn't have. Can we now talk about the other controversial part of this? Because I think this is even more interesting, arguably.
Yeah, so, you know, Batman does his speech. He announces it's McDavid, and, you know, Jaguar's the only time in my lifetime this has happened. He came out and got the trophy back in 2003. McDavid chose not to come back onto the ice and receive the trophy. He stayed in the locker room with the boys, and that had its own set of controversy online. This poor guy, he loses game 7 and just wants to be with his teammates, and the whole thing goes up in flames. So I want to ask you guys, do you have a problem with him not coming out of the locker room as the face of the NHL when everybody's watching to receive the Conn Smythe trophy?
I think you should go first for this one.
Fine, team me up. No, I don't have a problem with it. I don't.
I don't either.
Why not, though? Let's hear that.
I don't, because one, as the captain of a team, I feel like you should be prioritizing the mental wellness of your team over your own personal accolade.
Which we clearly saw him do as he waited. He was the last guy off the ice. He literally waited. He could have gone right down the tunnel. A lot of other star players would have. He waited. Every single Oiler passed, got off the ice, he tapped him on the back, and then he left.
Right. And two, do you want the face of your league that everyone's going to see going out to put his face in front of a trophy that he truly doesn't want and doesn't give a fuck about and is probably going to have a meme made about him for the rest of his life if he does it? I mean, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not saying that he did the right or wrong thing. Like, it's a little bit of a gray area, but I don't have an issue with it.
I just I don't know the ins and outs of this or, if this is accurate or not, but, it felt like when Jiggy won the Conn Smythe, he was still on the ice when the trophy came out. Like, it felt like this took 20 minutes in between end of game, yard sale with the equipment. Then they do the handshake line. And then after 5 or so minutes, the Oilers go off the ice. And then 10 minutes later, Bettman does the Conn Smythe thing. So I feel like had the Oilers still been close to on the ice or had it been a little bit sooner, but I figured at that point, dude, he's in the locker room, coach is talking, he's talking, gears off. They're probably just, I feel like once you go into that locker room, it would just be so cruel to make him come out. Panthers fans would probably boo. I mean, they booed when they gave it to him anyways. To me, it's it's already cruel enough that they made him do an interview and we had to watch that, which was very hard to watch. It would have been so fucked up, in my opinion, to have him come back out in his skates and do the little shuffle walk across the red carpet to pick up the Conn Smythe, to stand there and take a picture with it, and then to carry it back off into the locker room.
Yeah, I hear all that for sure. And I honestly, I don't really have a side in this argument. I just thought it was a really interesting debate on Twitter, seeing both sides. To play devil's advocate, though, I am going to read a tweet from somebody that's on the complete opposite side, which was in relation to Giguère winning it. And, there's a photo of him in, what was it, 03, with it. Clearly looks pretty fucking defeated holding it. And it just says how much you want to bet Giguère wanted to be anywhere else in the world at this moment rather than accepting this award. This is what class, character, and sportsmanship is. McDavid no-showed the Conn Smythe like a tantruming child, just like he no-showed game 6 and 7. Hashtag let's go Oilers. Which is pretty brutal.
That's rough.
I don't think we've ever seen McDavid show enough emotion to be considered throwing a tantrum, but
yeah, that's probably true too. I mean, I think it also comes down, Nick, you touched on a little bit. We don't really know the logistics of it. I kind of have a different opinion on it based on was he literally getting off the ice and somebody tapped him and was like, by the way, stay here, you won CS. Or did he get all the way in there and 20 minutes later they're like, hey, you won CS, are you going back out? And he's like, fuck no. I don't know when that happened, and we're probably never going to know.
Yeah, and the other thing, to play devil's advocate, again, I just voiced my opinion, but if you're someone who's in the marketing department for the NHL, you're probably kicking and screaming because all you ever want is attention on your sport. You finally get millions and millions of eyes on the game. Everyone's watching till the end because it's close. And there's a lot of people like Dan Orlovsky, the NFL Network analyst, who's tweeting this McDavid guy, I want to see him. They probably want McDavid's face out there for people to see because that's what's marketing the league, right? But
I get it. I mean,
I don't blame him. I don't.
No, I wouldn't have come back out. I mean, it would have taken a lot to get me to go back out there after something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate how opinionated people have gotten on just whether he should have won it and then how he should have handled it when he won it. It's just give the guy a break, Jesus.
Or argue about something that actually matters.
I will say, and I had a long debate with my dad and my sister because I put that tweet in the chat with my dad and my sister today. And I just was like, what do you guys think about this? And they were they were on opposite sides of the argument. And I was just kind of eating popcorn while listening to the whole thing. But my dad made a good point too, that he said, as far as he understands, the only award that players the only individual award that players really give a lot of weight to is the Ted Lindsay, because that's voted on by the players. So that's like kind of a really big like compliment versus they're like, we don't really care what everybody else thinks, you know. And
Yeah.
it's true, like we said it before, like no one dreams of winning the Conn Smythe. Like
No.
that's just
But if
Yeah.
anything, he's going to have nightmares of that Conn Smythe if he never wins a cup. That's going to be in his trophy case with no Stanley Cup when he's 38 or 39 years old and retires, and he's going to be like, motherfuck.
no, he's gonna get one.
I mean, yeah, I think he will too. But if he didn't, I mean, you're going to look at that thing with trauma.
I do think he would, not even just from a humble thing, like, oh, I don't deserve it. I think in his truest, like, heart of hearts, he would have said, please do not give it to me. Like, please give it to someone on the Panthers.
True.
I agree with you. I agree with
And
you.
again, not just because of like, oh, no, I don't deserve, but like, no, like, literally, please do not give it to me.
Do not physically hand me the trophy or I will
Yeah.
It's like, you
boycott.
guys know how awkward I am with taking pictures. Please don't make me do this.
Let's move on to the Panthers. Let's just chat like big picture stuff. I mean, obviously, Paul Maurice finally gets his Stanley Cup. Just an unreal hoisting of it.
I can't tell what
Perfect.
my favorite one. What was the one that had you guys the most choked up? Was it Paul Maurice? Was it Kyle Poso? Was it Bobo?
So I thought it was going to be a Poso because I was crying during that. And then Paul Maurice got it and I just lost it. I mean, you know, for a guy that has just worked so hard and made every media scrum he's been in entertaining, to bring that level of just dedication and that kind of positive attitude every day for how long he's been doing it. I can't think of a more deserving coach. And I'm glad he got to have his moment.
People forget this dude started coaching when he was like 28 years old for the Hartford Whalers. That's insane.
Yeah, the Maurice one was cool. You know which one got me fired up that I wasn't expecting? But it was Bobrovsky. He was the first guy to get it after Barkov. He's the only active goaltender, I think they said, to have 2 Vezinas under his belt, which was hard for me to believe because I thought Vasi would. And he never had a cup yet, and he finally got it. And
he showed a lot of emotion too.
Yeah, and he's no spring chicken. I think he's 36 or something, they said. So
yeah.
good for him to get
I loved his interview with Emily Kaplan on the ice too. I thought he was just giving really like heartfelt answers, and that added to the emotion of me just being happy for the guy.
The Panthers will have their parade on Sunday, so get your Twitter timeline ready for that one because Matthew Tkachuk is giving us the trailer right now, and it is something to witness.
Please hydrate before that one. Like,
listen, I still don't think anything. I know I'm biased. I still don't think anything is going to beat the summer of Ovi and how insane some of those guys went. But I think Matthew Tkachuk is one of the few guys in the league that might be able to come close in terms of like ridiculous party. Just
nonsense.
I don't know. He's a character for sure.
I love the like, I don't even know if you could call them a dynamic duo, but just like the odd couple that is Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. They could not be more different. Like,
it's crazy.
Barkov barely gave an interview after winning the Stanley Cup. And like, it was very like, it's just his personality. So chill, so monotone, so laid back and relaxed.
Even when he was lifting it, he's just like,
he's
sick.
like,
I finally did it. Yeah,
neat.
Like, yeah.
And Matthew's like a Tasmanian devil who takes massive amount of penalty minutes. Barkov's always in the conversation for like the lady Bing and shit. It's crazy. It's funny.
I just have a feeling like Barkov brought the cup into the room, put it down for a second, and then Tkachuk picked it up and was like, I'm not putting this down for 48 hours. Like, we're just going to go and do stuff with it.
Here's the thing, because we got to talk about Brady Tkachuk for a second too, which, by the way, you know, we've seen some of this online today, but pretty cool. You look back to last year, how much Brady was there rooting for Matthew and like helping him. Matthew Tkachuk was pretty injured last year in the Cup final. Brady was helping him get out of bed, put his gear on, all that kind of shit. And now, you know, he gets to kind of be a part of that celebration. However, it's a little weird. He plays for the Ottawa Senators. You're not supposed to touch the cup and like really party with it I don't know. Is that
Did he touch it?
I don't know if he did, but
He's absolutely gonna drink out of it at some
that's
point,
what I
right?
was gonna say. There's
I don't
no
know.
fucking way he doesn't drink out of it,
I don't
right?
know. I don't think he will. I don't think he touched it because if he
I mean,
did,
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
you should, but I think this is just such a unique situation. Like his whole family's involved. Like Keith never won it. The whole family's gonna have a big party. It's like, how the fuck do you handle that?
I think Brady comes from a bloodline that's so like what's the
Yeah,
like
yeah.
black and white. Like you win it, you touch it, you don't,
Yeah.
you don't. Like if
So,
there's
like,
I
no
mean,
Is
yeah.
Keith not gonna touch it then?
Well, Keith
no,
touched it. Keith
right.
drank
Keith
out of
hoisted
it.
it.
He
Yeah.
hoisted it.
he's
Yeah.
retired and it's
Yeah,
his
that's
So,
that's
son.
different.
I guess it is a
He's
little
not
bit
gonna
different.
coach. He's not
Yeah.
gonna. Yeah, Keith is like not in the game in any capacity. So he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
gonna
think.
say
Right? He doesn't work. He doesn't work for somebody, does he?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna say Brady did it because if he did, that would have gone mega viral. Like
If you're
there's
like,
no way.
if you're like a teammate of his on the Sens and you like open your phone, there's a video of him like drinking out of the cup. I'd
Oh.
kind of be pissed.
I would be a little bit pissed. I mean,
I
like maybe
get it. I
like the
do
next
get it,
day
but
I would be like,
also,
oh, it's your brother. But
yeah, I'd be like, I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah,
No, he definitely didn't touch it. He's the fucking cat. Not only is he on the Senators, he's the captain.
Right.
So
that's
Right.
right.
Yeah, like get your priorities straight. You can be happy for your brother, go to the game, be excited, go on the ice, but
I
know
don't
the
think
limits. Draw the
I
line.
don't I don't think he touched it. I don't even think he'll party with it, to be honest. I think Brady is built from the same cloth as Matthew, and I don't think either of them would do that. Now, all of this leads me to say this. We need Brady Tkachuk in the playoffs because
Yeah.
he's just as good as Matthew, in my opinion, if not maybe a little bit more offensively talented.
It really
We
made
need
me
him.
want them to be on the same team.
Yeah.
I think that would be so fucking sick if they played for the same team.
It would be pretty cool.
They might pretty soon. It's just gonna
I
be
know.
red, white, and blue, baby.
Oh, there you go. I was like, excuse me.
Yeah, what, the fucking Rangers?
Well, ask
Please
them,
kill
they'll
me.
probably-
Please kill me.
I've already seen McDavid photoshopped in a Rangers uniform for 2026.
That's why I said it, because any rumor they're gonna jump right on and be like, oh, future Ranger.
Well, this actually segues perfectly. Actually, one last thing I want to say. Back to the Barkov Kachuk thing. Big Walt Kachuk was driving a golf cart with Matthew and Barkov hanging on the back of it with the Stanley Cup in their hand, which was just the most iconic image I've ever seen.
And at the end of the day, Barkov was driving a golf cart with Big Walt and Matthew hanging off the
Yeah.
back with the Stanley Cup on it.
You saw the video of them. I don't even think you could say Keith was taking a sip out of the cup. He was basically getting waterboarded with
Yeah.
beer by the cup.
Which is awesome.
And then they also did that off the balcony to like some fan below,
Yeah.
like elbow room or whatever.
Little bird bath action.
They jumped in the Atlantic Ocean with it. If you're not seeing all this stuff on the internet, you definitely need to look it up. But we are going to move on to the Oilers, and Mac kind of just segued us nicely about that made up Rangers rumor that they're probably going to keep posting this summer just to piss people off. But we know that this is going to lead to some contract drama. There's no doubt about it. Leon Draisaitl is going to be eligible for an extension after July 1. Connor McDavid will be doing the same thing this time next season, eligible for an extension. Every day that Leon doesn't sign is going to build more and more pressure in this pot that is going to explode if someone doesn't do something about it. So I have to ask, what do you think's going to happen? I know, like, we're not going to pretend to be NHL insiders here. We're not Elliot Friedman or anything like that, but like gut instinct, like, what do you think?
So I do think there's a reason why people before this game 7 were calling this one of the biggest and one of the most important hockey games of the century or however long you want to go back. And I think part of it's because of some of the possible implications. It's like, you've got your best player in the league and Draisaitl, clearly a top 5 player in the league. And if they don't win, it's like, I don't know, like go back to any of the greats. And it's like, what happens if they don't win? Like that year with Ovi, if he doesn't win, he probably gets traded. Go back. Obviously, Sid, won a couple, but if you go back, same with Gretzky. Like, what happens if Gretzky doesn't win that first cup or so? Like, these are the kinds of things that could alter the trajectory of like the future of the league. Will it? I don't know. Like I think Draisaitl probably does want to play in Edmonton still. Um, sure sounds like he loves playing with McDavid. I'm sure if I had to put money on it, I think they'll get something figured out. But again, I don't know like all the logistics of the contract stuff. I do think there's a world where like something crazy happens. I think it's unlikely, but I think that's kind of why people were like putting so much weight on this, just because like every year that you don't win, especially when you make it that far, it does a little something to you. And it definitely puts a bug in your head of like, do I stay? Is it worth going somewhere else? Is it worth exploring my options? That's especially what his agent is going to ask him.
Look at former guest and friend of the program, Carl Alsner. He left the year before the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup, just wanted to try it somewhere else. And, hey, nothing wrong with that. That's just part of the game. I mean, Gretz won 4 cups and they still traded him. So stay classy, Edmonton. But
speaking of which, real quick, sorry, it just reminded me when you said that, but I thought it was really cool when Paul Maurice said that like guys that left the team, like Gudis and a couple other guys that were there last year and didn't win this year. He was like, they're all part of this. I think that's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. When it comes to the Leon thing, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think so much of the discussion around it is going to be generated from how his postseason finished. He's obviously not going to be happy with the production, for the last probably 8 games.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is going to be driven by that. I
Also
don't
unconfirmed, but it sounded like he had a broken rib and finger or
Right.
something like that. I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow.
had
or
to
the
be
next day.
playing hurt. I don't see a world where they let a player like that leave. I think they learned their lesson, I would hope, with the whole Gretz thing, maybe. But
Yeah. I think too the trickier part though is like McDavid is next year. So if you spend too much,
Right. I think you have to like look at them both and be like, okay, that was fun. If you want to do this again, take a pay cut, buddy. Like, give us a little bit of something to play with here. Maybe we can compensate you with some bonus structure or something along those lines. But like, look at
yeah.
Sid. Sid took a pay cut, right, Harry?
Yeah, by what he was worth. Yeah, it's weird for Leon because let's just call a spade a spade. He's Robin. He's not Batman, right? He's not the main ace. Like this is kind of like if Backstrom was to leave instead of maybe Ovi or Malkin was to leave instead of Cross. Like it just changes things a tiny bit because you're not the main guy. And as good as he is,
Yeah.
he's not McDavid's priority 1.
And that's what creeps into your head because it's like you're the main guy on at least 25 other rosters, like if not more.
Oh, I've gone through this song and dance many of times as a Penguins fan, so I know how this feels as a fan. It's kind of weird.
It'll also be interesting to see if they do get a deal done, like will they structure it to end like at the same year as whatever they do for McDavid next year? Like I'm always curious as to like the big picture plans of organizations like this. Are they going to try and like, again, like, do you actually bring these two guys both into a room, even though McDavid's not up yet, and be like, can we agree on something right now? Like, I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but it's fascinating to me.
You would think both of them, and I'll just focus on Leon here for a second, but you would think Leon, after a year like this where they got literally within a game of winning the Stanley Cup, they were a goal away from sending it to overtime to have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. You'd think you would just say, dude, run it back. I mean, the turnaround that Knobloch had, you would think he's getting guys to buy in. So I just have a really, really hard time seeing that guy playing anywhere else.
Can you imagine if Leon signs a 1-year deal to run it back with McDavid and then they're both up next year?
And they both walk.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I'm not like lingoed into this, but I think I read that Ken Holland, the GM, his contract is up on July 1.
Oh my goodness.
There's no replacement, like, or maybe they have one like in the pipeline. I'm not that like familiar with the Oilers management, but I would not want to be the guy who has to step into his
That's
shoes
insane.
if he's done after this, because this is
Yeah,
a
and you
huge decision.
yeah, and you come in, you have no relationship with this guy, and then all of a sudden Leon's like, well, I don't fucking know you. Like,
Again, I'm pretty sure I read that, but we'll see. And
big if
honestly,
true. That's wild.
if it's me, I give them both a blank check, sign them for the same thing, and say, get rid of Jack Campbell, and you'll find $5 million of cap space. Sorry,
Easier
not
said than done. What the fuck are you gonna do with him?
you'll figure it
Send
out.
him back to the Leafs again.
If Rob Blake just found a way to get rid of PLD, anything could be done.
Also, Evan Bouchard is also up for an extension next year. Or no, I'm sorry, his contract is up after next season. He's going to be getting a massive raise. He's only playing
Yeah.
for 3.9 right now. That dude's going to be well above 8. He'll probably get close to that 9.5
Yeah, I was gonna say you
number.
can more than double that. Yep.
All you have to do to get an 8x8 is basically play defense in the NHL these days. So why not?
Well, it's just funny because
True.
everyone compares it to McCarr, and McCarr went for the 9.5. So
Right.
everybody gets measured against that number. But last thing on the Oilers, this is just tragic for Corey Perry, who continues to be cursed. But in his last 5 seasons, I have to read this to you all. In 2020, he lost in the finals. In 2021, he lost in the finals. In 2022, he lost in the finals. In 2023, he lost to the Maple Leafs in round 1. And then in 2024, he loses in the finals. I don't know if there's ever been a 5-year run that has had worse luck than this guy.
It's pretty bad. I mean, the one that always jumps to mind for me is Hossa. Like, losing with
Same.
the Pens,
Yep.
going to the Wings, losing with the Wings, going to the Hawks, and then finally getting it with the Hawks. But Harry,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think this has ever happened before, but I mean, that's just crazy. Like I can't
Nuts.
fathom the
To
odds
be
of something
clear-
like that happening again.
To be clear, he did win a cup, so it's
Yes.
not that bad. Yes, it was like what his rookie year, his second year, or something
07.
like that. He was a baby, but I mean, yeah, that's pretty brutal. To have
Also-
had the opportunity, this guy could have 6 Stanley Cups by now if he wanted. Well, not if he wanted, but
Yeah. I'm going to still call Mickey Mouse on the 2021.
Oh, absolutely. Of course.
Yeah, it's totally fine. He is the first person, I believe, in NHL history to lose 4 different Stanley Cup finals with 4 different teams.
Correct.
So there you go. All right. Any other things you want to mention about the finals, Panthers, Oilers, drama, and whatnot?
Honestly, like I just want to put a bow on Edmonton with this. I'm sure Oilers fans are like devastated right now. I would be too. But so much of what we've said about that team over the course of this season was they couldn't find that next gear. They weren't resilient enough. They weren't tough enough. They didn't have the back end. They didn't have the defense to go up against some of these heavyweights in the West or the East. And I think they absolutely shut us up. So they, just hats off to them for an incredible season. I know it didn't necessarily start or end the way they wanted it to, but I think that team has proven that with, maybe 1 or 2 tweaks here, they are absolutely the real deal.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I suppose I owe an apology to the Edmonton Oilers with how much I shat on them all season long. But yeah, I mean, just what a conundrum of a season from start to finish. What a weird run of 82 plus games when you include all the playoff stuff. Scientists will study this
Absolutely.
season from the Edmonton Oilers for decades to come, that's for sure. But they'll be back. I do think this would have been far, far, far more devastating for the franchise of the Florida Panthers had they lost Game 7 than it is to the Oilers for many reasons. But even if you don't include history of both the organizations, even if you just look at them from here on out, I think the Oilers have a much higher chance of being back here soon than the Cats do, assuming everything goes fine with all those contracts that we were talking about. We'll see how that all shakes out. But yeah, great season. It was a fun one.
And shout out to the Cats for getting over the hump in the Cup final. It had not been kind to them previously. At 96, they get swept by the Avs and lose it in overtime. And last year, they essentially, I would literally call that like an ad hoc sweep that they got thrown with because Vegas just beat the wheels off of them for 5 games. And then this year, they roar out to a 3-0 lead and then, have to scratch and claw their way back to a 7-game series win. So, good for them for exercising those Cup final demons that they had going on.
Cats have 9 lives.
Before we do trivia and leave, any favorite moment of this season that stands out to you? I was trying to think of this myself today, and I was like, what's the thing that was most exciting this year for me to watch? And I don't have a singular moment, but I will say this. That Nathan McKinnon home streak this year was really fun to watch. And as that got bigger and bigger as the season went on,
That's a good one.
he was electric. I really enjoyed watching him.
That was cool storyline this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also accidentally bet him to win MVP thinking it was for the award show on Saturday. Turns out it was for next season. So now I have a big wad of cash tied up in my DraftKings future and I can't cash it out. So I have more money than I want to admit on Nathan McKinnon to win the MVP for next year. Because
I suppose that's not the worst bet that you could have placed. It's definitely possible.
It could have been worse.
Plus 700, baby.
I was going to say, you probably saw those odds and you were like, oh, for this year, that's insane.
I think I texted you guys last night. I was like, how is it plus 700? He's going to win the MVP. And then I looked, it was like 24-25. I was like, fuck.
Well,
so he's
now
back.
He's got to go back to back. That's all order.
It is.
Any other
favorite moment? You know what I'm going to say.
Game 82, baby. Let's
yes,
go.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Unreal.
Game 82, the Ovi smile that gives Harrison nightmares. I have not, as a Caps fan who, we missed the playoffs last year. There hasn't been a ton to be excited about since 2018.
Missed them this year too.
That was about as dialed in as I've been for any Capitals game in the last 5 years. So that was a brief moment of fun for me to for that whole game, just from puck drop till very end. A lot of fun. I think I was standing up the whole time. I love shit like that. It's why we watch. It's why we're fans.
Yeah, the OV grin for that is just so iconic. I won't say that just because you did. I'm going to go ahead and go back to one of the beefiest hockey games we had this year, and it was between the Washington Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets. The overtime antics and just the shot of was it Merzlikins was flopping around like a fish out of water in the crease trying to draw penalties and just the absolute clown show that the Jackets as a franchise put on that night. And just the shot of the entire Caps team just giving Merzlikins the business after the shootout win,
especially
which is
Wilson.
Still my cover photo on Twitter. It's probably going to be my cover photo for a very long time on Twitter. So I got to go with that one.
That's a good one. That doesn't even feel like this season. That feels like years ago.
Yeah.
The Penguins haven't played in 2.5 months. It's crazy,
oh
man.
My God.
Yeah, when you asked this question, it's favorite moment from this season. I was like, I don't know. I can't remember any of them.
Well, I wasn't gonna say anything Penguins because this year kind of fucking sucked. But that Erik Karlsson OT winner against the Red Wings after I said I wanted him scorched off the face of the earth in the third period, that's probably up there. But maybe next year. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next week. Mac, I think you had the winner of the EB bracket challenge earlier. Do you still have that info handy?
I do. One moment.
For those who are unaware, we did a playoff pool bracket challenge. The winner gets 2 pieces of merch. Mac's about to read the winner. So if anyone knows this person, because I'm pretty sure we don't, tell them to DM us.
And the winner is...
Can't just announce it. We got to add some suspense and drama here.
Tail Nix Picks bracket 1. Nix Nix Pix. Tail Nix Picks. bracket 1. We have no idea who you are.
Yeah, so DM us.
Hopefully you're a devout listener, in which case that's even cooler. If not, then I don't know how you're going to get your free merch.
I'm giving this person a week, and if you don't reach out, it's going to second place.
That's fair. A week is more than fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. Trivia or
Roll it.
Yes, of course. Well,
But before we do trivia, I think you have a word from our friends over at Elwood's.
of course, yes, of course. Just a reminder to support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge, located in the heart of Milwaukee on Water Street. 70s inspired bar has a little something for everybody, from daily happy hour, rotating taps, and free birthday perks. There's a little something for everybody at Elwood's. I'll see you there. I'll definitely be there a lot more this summer. Ever since the Admirals got eliminated, I haven't been there a ton, but I will be there very soon. Promise you that.
I need a review of that Donna's pickle beer, because I'm very intrigued by that.
Yep, my sister's coming here in about 2 weeks, and she's been bugging me to take her there because she wants to try it. So maybe we'll make a point to do that.
Yeah.
Mac, do you have one? Because if you don't, I have something quick.
Well, I had one.
You had.
It was a really good one, but why don't you go? I'm feeling nice today.
It escaped your brain. It's totally okay. All right. So Alexander Barkov hoisted the Stanley Cup last night, and he became the 5th European captain in NHL history to hoist the cup. Can you name the other 4?
Ovi.
Lidstrom.
That is correct.
2
more.
Hamana.
Let's go backwards by year. Who was the Knights captain?
Stone.
I don't think you need to go quite year by year, but
how far? Well, no, hold on.
You definitely know these 2 people. Yeah.
Oh, Landeskog.
Correct.
That's a good one.
One Moss.
Okay.
Anze Kopitar?
No, it would have been Dustin Brown, I think, at that time.
Right.
Is this one the furthest back of them, or no?
Yes. No.
So who was the first European captain to do it?
Lidstrom.
Yeah, I think it was Lidstrom.
Okay, that makes sense, right?
Against the fucking Penguins.
Yeah.
Ass.
Okay, so hold on. Oh. Chara?
Yes.
Good one.
There we go.
There you go. Those are your 5. Lidstrom, Chara, Ovi, Landeskog, and Barkov.
It's crazy that the first European captain to win a Stanley Cup was like 08.
Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Took a little bit. But alrighty, that concludes our Game 7 recap. Just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who listens and supports the show, the brand, the YouTube channel, all the social media outlets. We really do appreciate it. It's our 5th full season, which is just wild to say out loud. It's flown by. We really love doing this show. It's always fun for the 3 of us to get together once or twice a week to shoot the shit. And anyone who listens, we just really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's obviously love doing the show with the both of you. This is such a fun thing to do. Glad we've kept it going this long. Looking to continue to keep it going. And thank you to everyone who's bought merch, who's come out to events. Just keep up the support, because we absolutely appreciate it.
Yep, and we're not done yet. We've still got a lot of hockey stuff coming in the next couple of weeks. Obviously check our YouTube, but there's going to be more episodes, because we've got free agency and the draft and all kinds of crazy. In a way, the craziest part hasn't even come yet. So
yeah, the Hong Kong Extra League kicks off tomorrow, so we're going to be covering that in depth. It's going to be awesome.
if there's two things you want to do to support us, one of them costs money and one of them doesn't. The first one is buy merch. Do that if you want to give us money directly. You can find the link in our bio, and that'll take you to the store. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, it's nice to see the brand out in public every now and then. And secondly, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are going to be putting a lot more effort into that
That'd be
over the
huge.
summer.
Do it.
We're going to be pumping a lot of content on there next year for sure. So go sub if you haven't already. That would mean a lot.
Why would you just listen to me when you can put a stupid face to the stupid things I'm saying? YouTube is so much better than just hearing my voice.
All right. It's gonna be a fun summer. A little free agency and draft stuff coming sometime next week. And then we're gonna go into how the Washington Capitals are gonna win the Stanley Cup again for the 5th year in a row, 6th year in a row.
We're gonna need more than the summer to talk about that, but yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, everybody. Appreciate the love and support as always. Congrats to the Panthers once again. And without further ado,
Cats dismissed.